Hi everyone, Miss Debbie here with a very special story time for Miles. Miles came into the library and told me how much he liked my story time, so I said, well, I'll do special stories just for you. So anybody who watches this can enjoy these stories, but Miles picked them out. And we're going to read Fly Guy and some books about whales. So how does that sound? Sounds like fun to me. All right, so let's start off with Fly Guy. Love Fly Guy. I really love Fly Guy by Tedd Arnold. Tedd Arnold is funny. He also writes books that are not Fly Guy, that are just as funny. So come into the library and ask for that. I love this story. Chapter 1. A fly went flying. He was looking for something to eat. Ooh, dead fish. Something tasty. Ooh. Something slimy. You know what flies eat. You've seen them land. A boy went walking. He was looking for something to catch. Something smart. Something for the amazing pet show. So he's got all of his paraphernalia there. He wants to catch something. And then they met. Fly Guy bonked into the boy's nose. The boy caught the fly in a jar. A pet, he said. The fly was mad. He wanted to be free. He stomped his foot and said, "Buzz." The boy was surprised. He said, "You know my name. You are the smartest pet in the world." Chapter 2. Buzz took the fly home. "This is my pet," Buzz said to Mom and Dad. "He is smart. He can say my name. Listen." Buzz opened the jar. The fly flew out. "Flies can't be pets," said Dad. "They are pests." He got the fly swatter. The fly cried, "Buzz!" And Buzz came to the rescue. "You are right," said Dad. "This fly is smart." Landing on Buzz's nose. "He needs a name," said Mom. Buzz thought for a minute. "Fly Guy," said Buzz. And Fly Guy said, "Buzz." It was time for lunch. Buzz gave Fly Guy something to eat. Oh, a hot dog with mustard. That looks pretty good to me. Oops, Fly Guy was happy. He ate most of it. Chapter 3. The Amazing Pet Show. Buzz took Fly Guy to the Amazing Pet Show. The judges laughed. "Flies can't be pets," they said. "Flies are pests." Buzz was sad. He opened the jar. "Shoo, Fly Guy," he said. "Flies can't be pets." But Fly Guy liked Buzz. He had an idea. He did some fancy flying. The judges were amazed. "The fly can do tricks," they said, but flies can't be pets." Then Fly Guy said, "Buzz." The judges were more amazed. "The fly knows the boy's name," they said, "but flies can't be pets." Fly Guy flew high, high into the sky. And then he dived down into the jar. "The fly knows his jar," the judges said. "This fly is a pet." They let Fly Guy in the show. He even won an award. Fly Guy won the award for smartest pet. Here's something that looks like a sloth, the heaviest pet. The octopus won the pet with most legs. The cat won cutest pet. And the giraffe won tallest pet. But Fly Guy won the smartest pet. And so began a beautiful friendship. I love this. I just love that. I love Fly Guy. I had have a Fly Guy song. I guess I could sing it. Nothing you can do can make me untrue to Fly Guy. Nothing you can buy can make me tell a lie to Fly Guy. I'm stuck to Fly Guy like a stamp on a ladder, like birds of a feather we stick together. I love making up songs. This book is called Hooray for Fly Guy. There's quite a number of Fly Guy books. A boy had a pet fly. He named him Fly Guy. Fly Guy could say the boy's name, Buzz. Chapter 1. Fly Guy went with Buzz to play football. Coach said, we need one more player for the big game. Buzz said, Fly Guy can play. Coach laughed. Flies can't play football. Buzz said, Fly Guy, show him what you can do. Fly Guy kicked the ball, and the ball fell on top of him. Fly Guy went out for a pass. Fly Guy tried to tackle Buzz. I was right, said Coach. Flies can't play football, but he can come to the game. Chapter 2. It was the day before the big game. Buzz made a helmet for Fly Guy. They played football. They did jumping jacks. They planned a secret play. They made up a touchdown dance. They went to the big game. Coach said, a new player joined our team. Fly Guy sat on the bench. The game started. His team scored, and Fly Guy cheered. The other team scored. Fly Guy worried. The other team scored a lot. Chapter 3. Finally, there was 1 second left in the game. The other team was ahead. They were about to score again. And the new player was hurt. Ooh. Coach said, okay, Fly Guy, you can play now. The game is lost anyway. Buzz said, it's time for our secret play. Fly Guy went to the line. The other team snapped the ball to their quarterback. Fly Guy flew fast and straight. He flew right up the quarterback's nose. The boy dropped the ball. Buzz picked it up and ran. He scored. Fly Guy and Buzz did their touchdown dance. The team cheered. We won! Hooray for Fly Guy! That's a pretty tricky way to win a game, flying up the opponent's nose. This is probably my very favorite whale book by Julia Donaldson. It's called The Snail and the Whale. I love all of her books. Here's a picture of the title page. This is the tale of a tiny snail and a great big gray-blue humpback whale. This is a rock as black as soot. There's the rock. And this is a snail with an itchy foot. The sea snail slithered all over the rock and gazed at the sea and the ships in the dock. And as she gazed, she sniffed and sighed. The sea is deep and the world is wide. How I long to sail, said the tiny snail. So here are the ships in the dock, and there's the tiny snail on the rock, and a busy harbor. There There are other, these are the other snails in the flock, who all stuck tight to the smooth black rock, and said to the snail with the itchy foot, "Be quiet, don't wiggle. Sit still, stay put." But the tiny sea snail sniffed and sighed, then cried, "I've got it. I'll hitch a ride." This is the trail of the tiny snail, a silvery trail that looped and curled and said, "Ride wanted around the world." And here she wrote on the black rock, "Ride wanted around the world." This is the whale that came one night. Wow. When the tide was high and the stars were bright, a humpback whale immensely long, who sang to the snail a wonderful song of shimmering ice and coral caves and shooting stars and enormous waves. And this is the tail of the humpback whale. He held it out of the starlit sea and said to the snail, "Come sail with me." So here is the whale. Here's the little snail. The others, you can see the other snails are tucked in their shells, they're sleeping. There's the whale's tail out of the water. And here is the snail getting on the tail. This is the sea so wild and free that carried the whale and the snail on his tail to towering icebergs and far off lands. Just have to come in and borrow this book. So they're in Antarctica where the penguins live, maybe. And icebergs are there too. Where's that? Snail's right up there. And they also went to fiery mountains and golden sands. Ooh, could be Hawaii, right? With a volcano there and beautiful sand beaches. These are the waves that arched and crashed, that foamed and frolicked and sprayed and splashed. The tiny snail on the tail of a whale. Waves are very strong. These are the caves beneath the waves where colorful fish with feathery fins and sharks with hideous toothy grins swam past the whale and the snail on its tail. Ooh, look at those sharks. Beautiful drawings. Wow. This is the sky so vast and so high, sometimes sunny and blue and warm, sometimes filled with a thunderstorm, with zigzag lightning flashing and frightening the tiny snail on the tail of the whale. This book is a tongue twister. Look at those rough seas and scary lightning. But sometimes the sky is blue. And what's happening here? Looks kind of like hail. Hail or snow even. And she gazed at the sky, the sea, the land, the waves and the caves and the golden sand. She gazed and gazed, amazed by it all, and she said to the whale, "I feel so small." Here she is. Snails are very, very small. But then came the day the whale lost his way. These are the speedboats running a race, zigging and zooming all over the place, upsetting the whale with their ear-splitting roar making him swim too close to the shore. Oh, not good. This is the tide slipping away. There's a term, it's called beached whale. When the whale comes too close and the tide is low, there's not enough depth to the water for the whale to swim away. Oh, poor whale. This is the whale lying beached in a bay. Quick, off the sand, back to sea, cried the snail. I can't move on land, I'm too big, moaned the whale. The snail felt helpless and terribly small. Then, I've got it, she cried, and started to crawl. I must not fail, said the tiny snail. This is the bell on the school in the bay, ringing the children in from their play. This is the teacher holding her chalk, telling the class, sit straight, don't talk. This is the board as black as soot. And this is the snail with the itchy foot. A snail, the teacher turns pale. Look, say the children, it's leaving a trail. This is the trail of the tiny snail, a silvery trail saying, save the whale. These are the children running from school, fetching the firemen, digging a pool, squirting and spraying to keep the whale cool. This is the tide coming into the bay. And these are the villagers shouting hooray as the whale and the snail travel safely away. Thank goodness. That doesn't always happen when you're trying to save a whale. Back to the dock and the flock on the rock, who said, how time's flown and haven't you grown? So they're back in their original place. And there's the flock on the rock. And the whale and the snail told their wonderful tale of shimmering ice and coral caves and shooting stars and enormous waves, and of how the snail, so small and frail, with her looping, curling, silvery trail, saved the life of the humpback whale. Then the humpback whale held out his tail, and on crawled snail after snail after snail. And they sang to the sea as they all set sail on the tail of the gray-blue humpback whale. Wow, what a story that is. I love it. I have to say, it's one of my favorite books. The Snail and the Whale by Julia Donaldson. Thank you, Miles, for requesting whales and sails. Well, they are kind of sailing along. This is by Eve Bunting. It's called Whales Passing. I think these are orcas, right? Surely looks different than the humpback whale. My dad and I stand in the scratchy grass at the cliff's edge and watch the whales go by. Did you ever go whale watching? I saw whales once in California. I saw a beached whale once. It wasn't good. And once I was on a tiny boat off the coast of Ireland where we weren't wearing life jackets. And the captain came back and said, I think I saw a whale. And we were so excited, but the whale would have been bigger than the boat. That's a little frightening, but we were excited. We didn't see the whale that time. There are 5 whales. A pod, my father says. They're orcas, everyone. They may have come from colder seas where icebergs float and break. Icebergs, blue-white, polished by the sun. I watch the drifts that are their breaths. Look at that, breath. Their warm breath in the cold air. So whales are mammals, and just like us, they breathe the air. They're not a fish. And then they dive deep, deep among the streams of fish and star dance light that fills their sea. How do they know which way to go, I ask. The sea is the same each way I turn. And the sky is empty too, except for pelicans, a kite tail string of them across the blue. Would you get lost in a big lake or an ocean? I would. I bet those whales have signposts down below. An ocean mountain or a sunken ship. Maybe another whale that tells them, follow me. We'll make a right at this white rock. That is, if whales can talk. You can see the sunken ship there. Hope the people got out okay. My father smiles. Of course they talk. They storytell. Each day they swim from here to there and farther still. They whistle and make clicking sounds and squeal. Sounds like a dolphin. They say a baby orca hears his mother's voice before it's born into the sea. And it answers back, I ask? Maybe. We stay and watch them surface, spout, and dive. We watch until they disappear, all 5. I wonder if the whales saw us. And if they did. That was a boy, one whale would say. He and his dad will surely talk of us and how they saw us pass. The small one's shirt was red as sunset on the sea. His shorts sky blue, his socks blue too. That's what the whales would say. They lack our blubber, sad to say. But humans have no love of fat. Imagine that, no love of fat. Whale fat is called blubber. Caree, caree, the high whale laughter screeches through the sea, and other whales join in. They laughing at their jokes. No need to laugh, the first whale says. Those humans have their place and we have ours. The thing is well arranged, a small whale says. She leaps a frolic leap and slaps her tail. Soon she will have her firstborn calf, and she is filled with joy. The whales think of the boy, and he of him, of them. Makes me want to go whale watching. My dad and I saw whales, I'll tell my mom. They saw us too. I wonder when they talk down there, do bubbles bubble up? You think they talk? My mom will smile. Of course they do, I'll say, but not like you and me. They're gone. My dad and I will come again and see the whales. For now, I'll hold this shell I found close to my ear and hear the sea, and I'll remember whales passing. And there they go. And he's listening to the sea in a shell. Do you like to do that? I, I think you can always hear the sea in a seashell. Absolutely. That is the story of orcas, also known as killer whales. We have time for another story. Rainbow Fish and the Big Blue Whale by Marcus Pfister. So, um, if you've never heard the story of rainbow fish, he's a little fish that has lots of sparkles on him, and he learned how to share his sparkles with other fish in the sea. And that's a good book too, if you have never read it. But today we are doing Rainbow Fish and the Big Blue Whale. A long way out in the deep blue sea, Rainbow Fish and his friends swam happily through the reef. Each of them had a glistening silver scale, except for one little striped fish, but he belonged to the group anyway. Look at those sparkly scales. Kind of like bling. When the fish were hungry, they ate tiny krill. There seemed to be endless supplies of the delicious shrimp. Rainbow Fish only needed to glide gently through the water with his mouth open to catch as many as he wanted. It was a wonderful life. And here he is, just catching the krill. I think krill are like teeny tiny little shrimp. One day, a gentle old whale swam by the reef and decided to stay. He liked the spot since he too ate the krill that were so plentiful, and he enjoyed being around the glittering fish. Often he drifted along, watching them for hours, admiring their beautiful silvery scales. So this whale is, I think, called the big blue whale, and I think they're the largest animal on the earth. Before long, the fish with jagged fins noticed the whale watching them. "Why is he looking at us like that?" he asked the others. He was in a particularly bad mood that day. "See how that whale is staring at us?" he went on irritably. Who knows what he was thinking? "Oh, that's too bad, stirring up trouble." The whale was just minding his own business. After that, all the fish grew more and more suspicious of the whale. "Look at that giant mouth," said one. "Soon the krill will be all gone." Rainbow Fish began to worry. Until now, the fish had always been able to eat their fill. What if the whale did eat up all the krill? And why did he keep staring at them? Was he planning on eating them too? And here he is. So yeah, you can imagine he's going to eat a lot of krill. One day, the whale swam quite near the school of glittering fish. Panicked, the fish with the jagged fins sounded the alarm. "Look out," he called. "The wicked whale is after us." When the whale heard that, he was hurt at first, but soon he grew angry. "I'll show them," he thought. "I'll teach them a lesson." So the great blue whale shot into the middle of the school and lashed out with his gigantic tail, sweeping the sparkling fish in all directions. The terrified fish fled, racing towards a crack in the reef for safety. But the whale didn't leave them alone. He followed Rainbow Fish and his friends all the way back to their cave. That's a little scary. The blue whale swam back and forth, casting sinister glances at the little fish. They were trapped. "I told you that whale was dangerous," whispered the fish with the jagged fins. "We have to watch out for him." After a while, the whale calmed down. He made one last pass and then disappeared behind the reef. It's kind of scary he's looking at them. Nervous but driven by hunger, the fish cautiously left their cave and swam off in search of food. But the battle with the whale had left its mark. All the krill had been driven off. This is silly, declared Rainbow Fish. Before we played happily in the sea, now we hide in terror in our cave. Before there was always enough food for everyone, now we have nothing. We must make peace with the whale. And you could see the whale in the distance. The other fish were all too afraid to approach the whale. It was up to Rainbow Fish. The whale stared at Rainbow Fish suspiciously. Please, let's talk, said Rainbow Fish. This fight was all a big mistake. It drove off the krill, and now we're all hungry. The two talked for a long time. The whale told Rainbow Fish how hurt and angry. Where's his head? Oh, there's his eye. There's his eye. The whale told Rainbow Fish how hurt and angry their hostile words had made him. I never meant to harm you, said the whale, just to scare you a little. Rainbow Fish was ashamed. I'm sorry, he said, but when we saw you watching us all the time, we were afraid you might eat us. The whale looked surprised. I watched you only because your shining scales are so pretty, he said. They both laughed. Come now, said the whale. Let's find new hunting grounds for krill. So Rainbow Fish and his friends, protected by their new friend, the big blue whale, swam off together in search of a new home, rich with krill, and before long, none of them could remember what the terrible fight had been about. Look at this fine picture with the sun streaming like through the water and under the water where the fish are and the whale, because the whale's not a fish. So love those pictures by Marcus Pfister. Well, thank you for listening to my stories. And I'm searching for more whale stories. I have a really good one that I'm borrowing from another library. So stay tuned for more whale stories. Thanks for joining me. Bye.